Good evening, everyone on Instagram world. It's good to be back. We're going to be having a discussion today and also on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, and also our own vashiva.com live. We're going to wait until people come in. Welcome, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. We're going to be having a discussion today on chondroitin sulfate. It's part of our joint health series. Again, we had a number of people write in for me to talk about different kinds of ingredients related to joint health. So that's what we're going to have today. So we're also live here on both Instagram and all the different media. By the way, those of you who may not know, we are also going to be having a series of meetings starting next week that we want to have everyone's involvement. It's going to be really both a pledge, a petition, but an activity of how we start getting clean elections in our local communities. So we're going to be meeting with our Truth Freedom Health warriors this evening, and you're going to be seeing a lot of news coming out. But with all the work that, I've been involved in, both as a Senate candidate, as a mathematician, as an inventor, and a scientist who got involved in this, I've come up with a practical way that everyone can become active so they're not just spectators. For those people who want to do that, and so we want to get everyone active in doing that. So that's going to be coming up. You're going to see a launch of that tomorrow. We're having a meeting with our people, but it's something practical that everyone can do nationally. You can probably do it internationally because these voting machines are everywhere. It's the real issue that the Republicans and the Democrats and the left and the right do not want to go after, because it's going to expose how we actually have selections. We don't have elections. We actually have selections. Those people get elected. Either they're not a threat, or they're elected because, or those people are selected because they serve the establishment. So we're going to be talking about that. But today, someone said, did the government of Massachusetts try to take guns? This is true. Well, they've been doing this for a long time in terms of the Second Amendment. So let me just jump right in. So today's talk is going to be in our series of health talks, and it's really going to focus in, and this evening at 9 p.m. I'm going to give a talk on the gentleman, Dr. McDonald, who was involved in the Challenger disaster. He was the one who called it out and was vilified for doing that. So I'm going to honor him by giving a talk today, this evening. But let's go right into talking about chondroitin sulfate. So let me just jump right in. Let's share the screen here. We'll go right into chondroitin. Okay. Here we go. So those of you can see this. Today's talk is going to be about chondroitin sulfate and joint health. And we're going to take a molecular systems biology approach. Again, the intention here is to educate people on a systems approach to understanding the world. And I believe that the science of systems is what I'm dedicated to teaching to everyone. I'm dedicated to applying it in research. I'm dedicated to teaching people how to get activated on it. But the science of systems is at the heart of all sciences. And I can educate people about the science of systems in literally about 3 hours. It's taking an MIT education and distilling it in a very potent way. And I do that every Monday evenings. Those of you who are interested, I'll come back to this, can go to vashiva.com/join to learn more about it. So, but we take that same systems approach to actually understand molecular systems at the deep level. So let's go into this, and I want to bring up the slide here, which is really going to talk about that. So if we look at it here, let me move this over a little bit. Yeah. So if we go over here, you will see that chondroitin sulfate is what we're going to be talking about. Let me move this over here so I can go back and forth, and people on here can see also there. All right. So everyone on Instagram, hope you guys can see. So we're going to cover, first of all, the background. Those of you who are new to this, I'm going to discuss why we need to take a systems approach, what that is, how this ties into not only biology, but our movement for truth, freedom, and health. Then we're going to give a little bit of background on chondroitin sulfate. We're going to describe in that context how we use the technology I created, CytoSolve, to actually do computational analysis, which means using the computer without killing animals to understand how chondroitin works. And then we're going to go to look at, understand joint health. And then we're going to jump in to look at the effects of chondroitin sulfate on joint health. And then we're going to look at the principle of synergy, and then we'll talk about dosaging. So let's jump right in. First of all, those of you who are new to the program here, my life has really been dedicated to taking a systems approach. So if you go to vashiva.com, you'll find out all the different kinds of inventions, engineering efforts I've been involved in, be it creating the first system for email in the world, which was email is really not the exchange of text messages. It's a system as we know it today. Next thing I want to talk about is that CytoSolve is the other technology I created for my PhD work, which if email is the electronic version of the interoffice mail system, then CytoSolve is the electronic version of the molecular communication system. So someone said, we love our site. Thank you. So when we look at chondroitin sulfate, if you look at the articles here, there are this quite well researched. Yesterday I did MSM, methyl sulfonyl methane. Today we're going to look at chondroitin sulfate, but there's nearly 27,903 research articles. That's a lot of research. Close to 28,000 articles written on chondroitin. Very well researched, nearly 429 clinical trials, over 74 years of medical research. So it's a well-researched therapeutic molecule. This is a little bit different than what we talked about yesterday. Some of you may know we talked about MSM, which had about 693 articles written on it. But chondroitin has close to 27,000 articles, nearly in order of magnitude or more. 40 times more research has been done on chondroitin sulfate. So we're going to talk about that. But the issue is, how do you handle all of this research? Does anyone here actually have time to go through all of this? And what we're able to do, let me just bring this up again. What we're able to do with CytoSolve is we're able to look at all of that research, distill it, and do what we call a bioinformatics approach to that research. So first, we're able to really understand what is in that research, get the relevant papers, and I'll show you the process that we take at CytoSolve. This is the technology capability I built. So we're able to take in a field all of those papers. From those papers, figure out the relevant studies. In this case, we're looking at, let's say, humans. And then we're able to extract from these little ball and stick diagrams called molecular pathways, build an architecture of it, and then integrate it to present the bioinformatics. And with CytoSolve, we're also able to do computational analysis, which means we're actually going to understand what occurs at the molecular level. And I'll talk more about that. So CytoSolve is a way, without killing animals, we're able to take bodies of research and understand what's going on at the molecular level. And very, very different than how big pharma works. This is, by the way, very different than what we call the reductionist approach that takes place in the world of, unfortunately, reductionist science, where if the elephant, for example, represents the whole, right? Let's say the elephant represents a disease like Alzheimer's or cancer, or how does, chondroitin sulfate work? The problem is, in medical research today, biologists work on little pieces of the puzzle. You can win a Nobel Prize, just like the blind men touching the elephant here, just for studying the tail or studying the foot or studying the side of the elephant or the tusk. So biological research incentivizes people to understand components, but it doesn't incentivize people until 2003 to take a systems approach to understanding the body. So this is my field of research, but you can see this is the story of the blind men touching different parts of the elephant. And if they ever got together, this would be unfortunate. This is what you think the elephant looked like: as a snake connected to a fan, connected to a house, connected to a spear, connected with a rope, connected to a bunch of tree trunks, okay? But this is what happens when you take a non-systems approach, you take a reductionist approach. So what I wanted to clarify here was, one of the big things I want to educate everyone. Our goal at VA Shiva is to educate around 50,000 people this year on a systems approach to understanding existence. For that matter, understanding, be it how your body works, be it how your electoral voting machines work, be it how your political systems work. So there is a fundamental science that you can understand. That's why at the bottom of this, you see it scrolling, go to vashiva.com/join, because my goal is to use this technology I've created to educate around 50,000 people. And that's the number we're going to need to create a bottoms-up movement, not relying on Democrats or Republicans, Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump or all these guys, because ultimately they always bring us back into the Republican-Democrat dialectic. So what is a systems approach? And I talk more deeply about it in my Monday night courses, but for those of you who are new, this is what a systems approach is, and this is where it evolved from for me. You know, I've always had a deep interest in health and science. And, you know, when I finished up MIT, this was the way we looked at the body. Someone's asking, why are we watching another computer? Because unfortunately, the problem with Instagram is Instagram does not allow us to stream to it. That's what's unfortunate. I mean, I guess you guys could watch me if you want to see that, if that's better for you, but you're just going to see my head there. That's why I'm sharing with you the slide. So I hope that helps. Okay. So those are the people on Instagram asking, why are you looking at the slides? That's why. Okay. So the bottom line is, when you look at this slide here, this is one way to look at the human body, which is genes and proteins and metabolites and regulatory motifs and functional modules and large-scale organization. Okay. So this is, you get a PhD in biology for looking at the world like this. This is the Western view of looking at the world. There's another way to look at the world. Another way to look at the world is to look at it from the way my grandmother or traditional systems of medicine looked at it. They looked at it as this world where you had the human body, which is composed of tissues, which had these energy forces called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, space, air, fire, water, Sattva, Rajas. Anyway, this is the system of medicine known as Siddha and Ayurveda. So the issue that I was very interested in, deeply interested in, I saw my grandmother use the system on the right to heal people. And I also recognize the power of Western medicine because I've studied this as well as this. And the issue was, is there a connection between those? Both, because if we can understand the connection between East and West, my theory was we could solve a lot of problems, because today there's some amazing formulations in the Eastern medicine. There's amazing opportunities in Western medicine, but each side has been looking at each side like this, and no one really looks at the whole. So when I finished my PhD in 2007, I headed back to India to see if I could find the missing link between Eastern and Western medicine. And I had a big breakthrough. And the breakthrough was that what I discovered, and by the way, this was on the front page of MIT. MIT was very confused why people are saying they don't mind me talking. So maybe if you don't mind, maybe I'll do a little adjustment here. Well, actually, I'll leave it here. So let me see if I can switch here. I don't think I can go back. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's a little bit hard to see that, but because it's too much of a close-up. So let's just stay here. Okay. So when I went back to MIT, the goal was when I won the Fulbright Award to go to study the interconnection of Eastern and Western medicine. MIT was very featured this on the front page. And this was in 2007, saying, hey, we got a guy with 4 degrees at MIT, but he wants to go back to India to understand the interconnection between Eastern and Western medicine. To them, I think they said, you should be starting your next company. All right. But my intention in going back was, could I find the interconnection between these two systems of medicine? And what I discovered was the following. And we discussed this more in the course, but what I discovered was that all systems in the universe consists of transport, conversion, and storage. Okay? This is what you would learn in general systems theory if you took a class at MIT. But I had learned this for many, many years across all those 4 engineering degrees, but I also had learned Eastern systems of medicine. And the realization I came through was transport, conversion, and storage are directly related to Vata, Pitta, Kapha. This is how my grandmother looked at the world. Vata is transport, Pitta is conversion, and storage is really Kapha. So this was a major breakthrough because I was able to link at a systems level Eastern and Western medicine. And that, when I got back to the United States, I created a curriculum called Systems Health. And Systems Health is a course I used to teach at MIT. I used to teach at the Chopra Center, would earn a lot of money doing this, but I made it very, very affordable for everyone now because I didn't want to be the lecture circuit, only giving this course, to the few, people who could have disposable income. That's the market that Deepak Chopra goes at. I could have made a ton of money doing that, but I actually wanted to reach a broader audience because I felt what I had found was something that everyone could use. A medical doctor could use it, a nurse could use it, a chiropractor, a naturopath, a housewife, anyone who's interested in health, because with this approach, they start understanding the body from a systems approach and using a language that everyone can appreciate. So that was really the birth of CytoSolve. Those of you who are interested in it, you can go there very briefly. One of the things you learn there is there's a tool I created called Your Body, Your System from this research, which helps you ask yourself a certain set of questions. Yeah, someone said Deepak sucks, he's a sellout. Yeah, Deepak basically went on a guru route because he can understand Ayurveda. So that's the code I cracked. So here, you can answer a set of questions and you can figure out what kind of system you are. That's the red dot. Then you can figure out how you're off course. That's the black dot. And then you can figure out how particular foods can bring you back. And I did a lot of mathematical analysis to figure this out. Foods, supplements, exercise. So everything is codified in here. Now, obviously, you can use this systems approach to understand your own health. But more importantly, and let me just, I missed the slides here for those people looking. So this is Your Body, Your System. You can answer a set of questions to understand your body as a system. And then you can then understand how your body is off course. And this is a tool, Your Body, Your System. And then you can understand how food, supplement bring you back on course. I spent about 15 years developing this tool to make it really, really easy. Okay. Now, you also can get certifications. You can get the master's certification. You can get many, many different programs, extremely affordable for everyone. So I was doing this for years, Systems Health. And then there's tons of courses you can take. You can actually get all the books I include with it. It's very generous what you get. And then you can actually have a tool that you can use to learn, teach, and serve others. You can get certified. And there's also, more recently, I created a course for everyone to use called Foundations of Systems, which is the core of our Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior training course. And in this course, you learn the foundations of systems. You understand how your body is a system. But more importantly, not only you do understand the relation between transport, conversion, and storage, which is a science of everything, but you also understand that truth, freedom, and health are directly related. Someone said, is there really a scholarship? Yes, we give scholarships. Please let us know. I mean, we've made it very affordable. The Warrior Training Program is only $100. I used to sell this for about $2,500. The book and the Your Body, Your System is $25. And if you just want to support the thing, you can just get on as a member. But what we have done is we've shown that the same energies that control your body are also translated into truth, freedom, and health, which is no different than transport, conversion, and storage. Okay, so that became the basis of the truth, freedom, and health movement. So in summary, what I'm trying to share with you here is that there is a science. There is a science to understanding every system in the world. And once you understand that science, you can figure out pretty much everything. But without that scientific understanding, you will always be, and frankly, lost, because you will not understand there is a foundational system that ties everything together in the universe, be it your body, your political system, your electronic voting machines, all of them. So that is what I've created for everyone. And it's really a systems-based approach to understand your body. It's a systems-based approach to understand how your health works. It's a systems-based health of your infrastructure, health of your political systems. So imagine learning one science that helps you figure out what the problem is in a political system, what the problem is in your body, what the problem is with your computer. So that's what I've created. And in literally in about 3 hours, I teach this every Monday evening. And then we also have it online, and I'll show you some of those tools. Anyone can learn this. So before I go on, I'm just going to play the video that I normally do, because it really ties in what I'm talking about in a much more profound and succinct way. So let me just share that with everyone. So if everyone wants to join me, or I'll play it right. If you go to vashiva.com/join, you can get access to all the tools here. But let me just play it right here. And I'm going to play it right for all the Instagram people too. So here we go. We have allowed our country to be taken over from within. And the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves. Because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you. Deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to. And we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that. And that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train a army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, right? Talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work united. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people, Dave, to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is a not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow, some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done. And it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote-unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these 4 concepts I've built into a curriculum. People can go to bashiva.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people 2 years of MIT control systems. I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it. Anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. And the Senate campaign's expanded to the movement for truth, freedom, and health, and they can find it on V as in Victor, A, Shiva, vashiva.com, so people can sign in. They can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a truth, freedom, health leader, I offer a full scholarship there. But we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to VA Shiva, Victory America Shiva, vashiva.com. All right, so that gives you the background. We'll come back to it, but the essence of life, you'll understand, particularly that occurred around 2003, when the Human Genome Project ended, was that we recognized that it's not the number of parts in a system that make it complex. We went into the Human Genome Project thinking that the difference between us and a worm was a number of genes. And we turned out we only have the same number of genes as a worm. So it's not the number of parts, it's the interconnection. So that's really what systems are about. And without taking a systems approach, you're frankly screwed in the modern world, because a modern world is a complex system of systems. And without that systems knowledge, what's going to happen, what is happening, it's very easy for con men to fool people. So on the so you have, if you look at the eagle, the American eagle, it's got two shoulders, right? The left and the right shoulder. Well, one is the Republicans and one's the Democrats. And it's got the wings, which keep it aloft, okay, which keep people embedded into the Republican and Democrat elites. One is on the left, the not so obvious establishment, as I talk in this video, is the people like Bernie Sanders and the AOCs. They talk a game that brings students and so-called radicals into them, but ultimately they're really not revolutionaries or radicals. They are a wing of the establishment, because they ultimately bring people back into the establishment. You can look at the recent election. You can see so-called revolutionaries, right? Radicals like AOC endorsing Biden. People like Bernie endorsing Biden and Hillary. So these people aren't revolutionaries. It's all a myth. Then on the right, we've seen more recently, you have your talk show hosts like Tucker Carlson. He's a complete scumbag in many ways. He's a little white boy, rich white boy. Okay, that's what he is. He's not everyday working class people, white or black. He's your rich man who is a grifter, who will just say enough to make you act like he's concerned and smirk, right? And that's what he did for the last 4 years, and he'll continue to do that. Now we have Trump also. Trump does not want people to break from the Republican Party. Just like Bernie, he will attack the RNC, keep this dialectic going, but ultimately to keep people attached to the establishment. This is a systems approach. And without this systems approach, what will happen is you will think these two parties are different when they're not. So a systems approach will help you understand the difference between a systems approach, which is what we're doing, and what they're doing, which is to keep you as part of the WWF wrestling, okay? So when I discuss at the biological systems level, I take a systems approach. When I discuss election fraud, I take a systems approach. And that's what I want to teach you. So our goal is to educate you, because this knowledge does not exist anywhere. The systems approach to understanding the world, interconnecting, is what my life has been about, and we've consolidated it into a program that anyone can afford, anyone can contribute to, anyone can be a part of, and we've put it in our own infrastructure. And so as a part of that, what I wanted to share with you was that infrastructure means that we don't have to rely on big tech, okay? This infrastructure is in our own platform. No one can kick us off. No one is going to kick us off. So for example, when I go here, I can just share with you what that looks like. So here on the platform, which is a technology platform for Truth, Freedom, Health, you can get educated, you can build community, and you can get activated. And that's at vashiva.com/join. So when you log in, we're very generous in the amount of capabilities, and all of this is running in so we have featured videos and premium videos. These are things that we won't get kicked off Facebook, but number one is to get educated. So there's a Foundations of Systems course portal. When you log in, you'll actually understand this diagram. It could take you 2 to 3 years at MIT to understand this diagram, but in 1 hour, I'll teach this to you. But this is the science of everything. This is the science of systems. So I want everyone to learn this. Without this, you're basically don't even have the scientific skills to understand how the universe or the political systems work. Let me be very clear. You may be a good person. You may be passionate about politics. Just like you may be a good person, you may be passionate about flying. Doesn't mean you know how to build an airplane. You may be passionate. You may love bridges. Doesn't mean you know how to build a bridge. Okay? Building a bridge, building a movement, there is a nuclear physics. There is a science. And that is what I'm dedicated to teaching you, because without understanding that science, one day you're going to vote for Bernie, one day Obama, one day Trump. You're going to get caught into this nonsense. So it's very easy to get caught into this nonsense. But the issue, first of all, begins with us setting our goal. Where is it we want to go? And this science is what you will learn literally in about an hour through the course. Then the next thing is you'll actually get access to that tool I told you about, Your Body, Your System, which will help you understand your body as a system. Next, the other thing is you'll actually get access to a whole bunch of ebooks. You know, these are books that are out there. They sell for a lot more money than you can get here, but it's the System and Revolution book. You get 3 other books where you understand how you can apply systems principles to your life, your body. It's really the science of everything. Then I give you a whole bunch of research papers too, which we used to sell to large organizations for thousands of dollars. That's included, and also this scientific basis. But not only do you get all this education, but the other thing you get is I want you to build community. So we have created our own forum. So you go in the forum, people are writing articles, meaning people are actually having discussions. These are different discussion forums. No one's going to kick you off. This is on the Truth, Freedom, and Health platform. And then finally, we've created our own social media. So here's Marie creating her own account here, and then she can join groups. You can interact with people. Bottom line, you can build community, and then you can get activated. Activated means we have tools, flyers, leaflets. For example, here's something you can educate your neighbors about oral health and how masks affect oral health. So you are not beholden to and you can print these cards out. This has a front, it's masks and oral health. The back of it has a science. We have about 200,000 our volunteers have printed this out, our Truth, Freedom, Health warriors. There's one on how you can make people aware of the risks of masks, for example, and connect it to oral health and well-being. But it's from a scientific approach, not from a left or right, pro-mask, anti-mask approach. And then you can also look at the effective immune systems, right? It's really not about pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. It's about boosting immunity. So you can understand the science as well as the public health implications. And then you can use these. And by the way, the Warrior program is accessible to everyone. For those who contribute, for those who want to just start at a lower level of education, and then those who want to be a member. So please take advantage of this. And I say this because again, I can't overemphasize, without this systems approach, there's literally a lack of understanding of what's going on. And that's where we're at today, because without the systems approach, it's very, very easy for the establishment to take advantage of good people. And that is in fact what they do. And the way they take advantage of people is to push the left-right narrative. That was very weird, everyone. We just we're back. Sorry about that. So we need to take a systems approach. That's a bottom line. Without a systems approach, we will be in this left-right narrative. So when we looked at any medicine or the effect of a particular ingredient on a large molecular system, we're taking that same systems approach. And because ultimately you're going to realize this has a lot to do with what is called synergy. So let's jump back in and go back to the application here. And I'm not sure why I did that, so I apologize. Let me go back here. There's too many windows here open, so let me close some of these down. So let's just go this down. Okay, I think we're back. Okay, I think we're right here. All right. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. All right, so this is where we were. So I want to share this. There we go. All right. So that's what we were talking about here before we got cut off here. So what we want to do is we want to talk about chondroitin sulfate now. So what is chondroitin sulfate? What is it? Okay, so you can see chondroitin sulfate is a supplement that you can buy at Whole Foods. You can buy it anywhere you want, in most supplement stores, Amazon, etc. But it's a polysaccharide consisting of repeating disaccharide units of D-glucuronic acid as well as N-acetyl D-galactosamine. So here is a chondroitin part and here's a sulfate part. So the reason this is called chondroitin sulfate is it's got two parts here. The SOOO group is a sulfate portion over here, and this is a chondroitin part connected by this oxygen bridge over here. But it's a polysaccharide related to certain types of sugars in some sense, okay? And it enhances the shock absorbing properties of collagen in the cartilage. So if you look at your cartilage wherever you have in your shoulders and your knees, right? It really enhances the shock absorbing properties. And it's clinically shown to have symptomatic relief of joint pain and to protect cartilage. And there's no known side effects or adverse effect. And this is from the distillation of the research that we did through the bioinformatics review of CytoSolve. So you can see this is what the molecule looks like. What's cool about these molecules is they actually have these wonderful structures. You know, it's fascinating studying them from a chemistry standpoint. So chondroitin sulfate, what's the source? We're at three sources. First of all, you can get it. 21 Daltons is a measure of the molecular weight. The trachea of bovine, okay, which means literally the trachea, okay, which means the throat. The second is you can get it from pig trachea. Notice it's a little bit higher molecular weight. And you can get it from the chicken keel bones, kneel bones of also from chicken, right? So there's three different sources of it. You know, so if you ever are eating chicken bones and the ends of it, some cultures eat that, some cultures make soup out of that. Great source of chondroitin sulfate. Now, the biological effects of chondroitin, there are three that we have found from the bioinformatics review: anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, free radical scavenging, and chondroprotective, which means it protects cartilage. All right. Those are the three things that we found from distilling all of those 26,000 papers that I talked about. So when you look at all of those papers, we found out that at minimum, chondroitin effect has been shown from all. When you really look at all those papers, anti-inflammatory, it's antioxidant, which means it eats up those free radical scavengers, and it's chondroprotective, which means it protects your cartilage. Very, very valuable, so you don't get cartilage degeneration. And we'll come back to this. But this is what the bioinformatics research did before we did what we'll call the computational work. All right, and CytoSolve has the capability to do both. The health benefits this is the biological benefit. This is a biological benefit. These are the health benefits. It improves cartilage regeneration, improves physical function, it reduces pain in joints. It promotes eye healing after cataract surgery. This was some very good research that was done. It prevents dry eyes and it relieves gastritis, okay? So you can see it as a number of approaches here. And I think what's interesting to note here is you notice that these are all animal sources. And it's an interesting nutrient because I have yet to find a place that you can get this from non-animal sources. So it's something interesting to look at. Now, CytoSolve has the ability to literally revolutionize, which is what we're doing, the entire development process. For example, if you look at drugs, they're made in a very dumb way. First of all, a pharmaceutical compound is something that does not occur in nature. It's a synthetic compound. So pharmaceutical companies make up a compound, then they test it in a test tube that's called in vitro, then they kill a bunch of animals, that's called in vivo. This takes around 6 years. Then if they got allowance by the FDA, it goes through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Then the drug comes out, $5 billion, 13 years of investment. Now, the problem is, look what's going on to pharma. They spend more and more and more R&D. Less and less of their drugs are actually being allowed by the FDA because of the side effects. So this entire business model is failing. And this is why I want to point people out to the fact that pharmaceutical companies, the reason they're entering the new market of therapies, is because the old pharmaceutical market is going downhill. So they need the modern vax market to as their new source of profit, right? So it's very, very important to understand. So that's what you can take away from this. So when we looked at this model, we realized this was a very dumb way to produce. And when I looked in 2003, when we found out we have the same number of genes as a worm, it turns out that if we want to understand the whole body, it's just not about the genes. We have to figure out a way to mathematically model the whole human cell. It's not just the genes, it's all these chemical reactions. So that was my invention, where I could take these biological pathways, convert them to models, and with CytoSolve, I figured out a way to glue them all together, to put it simply. So CytoSolve is a way to eliminate, so a lot of the PETA people will like this. CytoSolve is a way to eliminate animal testing. So that was in 2007 when I created. Between 2007 and the next 5 years, I wrote a lot of research paper in the major journals in the world validating it. And then we spent a ton of time trying to find out who'd want to buy this. We thought the stupid pharma guys would want us to help eliminate animal testing, figure out all their problems long before they occurred, but they actually moved slow and they were afraid of CytoSolve, and I didn't really care for them. But the few companies that used us, they were able to validate the power. But all of the organizations we work for today are really the nutraceutical companies, because they seem really intent on recognizing there's a lot of snake oil. There's a lot of snake oil even in the nutraceutical market, and CytoSolve can help figure out what that is. So what CytoSolve allows us to do is we can actually use the engine of CytoSolve to understand computationally what's going place. And so it's a whole platform we've created. We can mine the literature, we can mathematically model it, we bring in the research community, we publish papers on this, but fundamentally, CytoSolve can help us take this entire new way of taking lots of compounds, natural compounds, testing it long before we do animal testing. Much like how we build an airplane today. We don't just throw the pilot in, we do all of it on the computer. So when we take a systems view of joint health, what we've done is we took this is going to be, if you guys joined us yesterday, this will be a repetition, but just to repeat, we took every molecular pathway, every paper ever written about joint health in the universe up until end of last year. And we took all of them, and from that, we extracted every molecular pathway, this for osteoarthritis, and we interconnected them together. And then what we did was, instead of just giving it to a few labs, we published it in an open science model. So everyone in the world can now use this research. It's called open science. And so it's a lot of work on us. We were funded by a foundation and the University Health Network of Canada to do it. But what I'm pleased to say is we have created a service that any scientist in the world, any citizen in the world can use this tool. So I'm very proud of it. Let me share this with you. And this is really what we call the human knee explorer of osteoarthritis. So if you go to cytosolve.com/human knee osteoarthritis, everyone here who's listening can have access to this, okay? So when you go here, you'll find out that we can literally, we've mapped out so if you look at the human knee from a systems approach, the human knee is composed of 7 different tissues: osteophytes, immune cells, cartilage, synovial tissue, meniscus, fat pad, subchondral bone. So with our tool, you can find out all the different cells that are part of the synovial tissue, and then you can drill down and see the ligands in it, and you can go down that way. You can also go back and, for example, since we're interested in cartilage, right? Cartilage is what gets destroyed. So, by the way, I wrote all the code here. I still do a lot of engineering work. I love doing this. But cartilage is composed of chondrocytes. Chondrocytes contain ligands, those things that interact with the chondrocytes. And when you go here, the ligands, which are the particles that can land on the cell surface, can include many different things. You've probably heard of cytokines, a cytokine storm. Here are different cytokines, one of them being IL-1 beta. And when you look at IL-1 beta, what we've mapped out, this is just one molecule. We're looking at, and those of you listening, this is just one molecule we're looking at. We're looking at all the different molecules. The greener, this is a cytokine, an inflammatory cytokine, and you can see all the different molecules that IL-1 beta upregulates. So for example, here's a molecule which I looked at yesterday called MMPP13. MMPP13 causes cartilage degeneration, the catabolic effect. And then when you go into here, we can literally go right into this, and we can bring up the actual molecular reaction. See, when IL-1 beta interacts with to cause MMPP13, we've then mapped out all the different ingredients, natural ingredients, which can stop this. So for example, here's ginseng. If I click on this, I guess I have to go back here so you guys on StreamYard can see this. So let me stop here. Let me share my whole screen. So you can see here, when I clicked on this particular link, it brings up the actual paper, okay? So we've mapped out nearly 20,000 papers and extracted out their molecular mechanisms. So I go back, you can also see resveratrol, which appears in red wine, also inhibits IL-1 beta. So bottom line is we've created the first molecular systems architecture of human knee osteoarthritis in the world, but instead of keeping it to ourselves and just trying to make money off of it all day long and screwing everyone else, we've made this accessible to the entire world. All right. So I want to say this is very proud of this. This is what we call open science. So that tool is available to everyone. Okay. Everyone can use that tool. Using that tool, what we did was we identified, let me go back to now the PowerPoint. Using that tool, we identified the critical molecular mechanisms that are involved in joint health. Okay. And what we discovered was that there are a couple of major mechanisms: inflammation, oxidative stress, cartilage degeneration, and cartilage regeneration. So 4 different things. So if you're looking for a supplement and you want a supplement that really helps joint health, it should hit all of these. Now, the problem is that some of the ingredients only do a few of them. Yesterday, we talked about MSM, and the literature says it affects inflammation, oxidative stress. Our research said it is really good for oxidative stress, the computational work. So today, and by the way, there's mechanisms for inflammation, there's mechanisms for oxidative stress, there's mechanisms for cartilage degeneration, and these are all these molecular pathways. We have integrated all of those and mathematically modeled them. And then for each one of these pathways, there are different biomarkers. So for example, PGE2 is a biomarker of inflammation. If you have inflammation in your body, you're going to have a high level of this. If you have oxidative stress, you're going to have a high level of ROS. If you have cartilage degeneration, you're going to have a high level of MMPP13. And if you have collagen regeneration, if you want collagen too. So let me just be clear. So molecular mechanisms in your body are directly related to biomarkers. This is why when you go get a blood test done, they're actually looking at particular molecules. Those molecules are indicative of whether a particular molecular machinery in your body is running right. So with CytoSolve, we're able to identify them and interconnect them, okay? So that's what we've done here. Here, what we're showing you here is we've interconnected these molecular pathways, and we can now go and do a detailed computational analysis on them. So here we can take CytoSolve, and we can look at the effect of chondroitin sulfate. So bioinformatically, which is when we look at the literature, what do we find? Chondroitin sulfate affects 3 things, okay? It definitely, according to the literature analysis, it affects oxidative stress, cartilage degeneration, and cartilage regeneration, okay? So here's chondroitin sulfate. Here's joint disease. You have cartilage regeneration. Look at this. Chondroitin sulfate, the green, positive green is it positively affects it. The red with the hammer on it means it stops oxidative stress and stops cartilage degeneration. So in summary, it has the effect of stopping this, and supporting this, okay? So how does it do that? Well, the literature shows that chondroitin sulfate on oxidative stress increases this molecule called NRF2, okay? NRF2 is a molecule which activates, or chondroitin activates this molecule. And look at this, this is very powerful. NRF2 promotes glutathione peroxidase, which is a powerful antioxidant, catalase, and superoxide dismutase. These 3 things destroy oxidative stress, which means block it. They inhibit it, so which means the oxidative stress, the reactive oxygen species, ain't going to eat up your cartilage, okay? So that's what's important, that oxidative stress is what you don't want to have going on in your body. There are these scavengers called reactive oxygen species. You're basically rusting. So what chondroitin does, it blocks the major pathways from doing that. Very, very powerful, okay? So let's go back. So that's one very powerful use of chondroitin sulfate. The next thing is chondroitin sulfate. If you remember, we talked about IL-1 beta and MMPP13. I showed you in that beautiful diagram. Well, chondroitin sulfate comes and blocks it. Okay, so eat those chicken cartilage. Okay, but the cartilage, which is one place, or bone soup, these kinds of things, the chondroitin sulfate blocks that IL-1 beta, which produces P38 MAPK, and P38 MAPK degrades collagen, right? P38 MAPK, gives rise to MMPP13, and MMPP13 eats up your cartilage. So what happens is chondroitin sulfate blocks it right here, so this pathway doesn't occur. So in summary, again, just to be clear, chondroitin sulfate is going to block the pathway between IL-1 beta to MMPP13. Therefore, your body doesn't degrade cartilage. With MMPP13, your body literally starts eating up its own cartilage, okay? In a simple way of saying it. So, but MMPP13 is not a good molecule, but chondroitin sulfate comes up and blocks that. The next thing is chondroitin sulfate also helps cartilage regeneration. Okay, so this is where you get into the anti-aging areas, okay? So if you have chondroitin sulfate, what we're going to talk about is that you can actually boost up cartilage, which means you can increase cartilage in your body, regenerate it. So how does it do that? Let's look at that. So the way chondroitin sulfate does that, according to the literature research, is the following way. Remember, we do two types of analysis. We look at the literature, we convert the pathways, and we compute it. We're doing the literature aspect now. So chondroitin sulfate helps to activate AKT, which is an enzyme. And this enzyme promotes collagen 2. And increased collagen 2 leads to cartilage regeneration and amelioration of joint disease, okay? Someone says, Dr.SHIVA live is better than 12 years of school. Yeah, well, that's why everyone, well, thank you for that. Listen, if you study with me and you take the Truth, Freedom, and Health course, and you're contributing, first of all, to your own education, you're also contributing to our platform, you're contributing to building a movement. It's many, many things. But the science of systems is the ultimate education. Without the science of systems, you can go studying math and physics and writing, but the science of systems is a science of the science of the science of anything. Okay? It is truly the science of everything. So go to vashiva.com/join. Do it for yourself, but most importantly, learn that you're not going to get this knowledge anywhere. You won't get it at MIT. You won't get it in Eastern Systems of Medicine. It's the integration of East and West. It's really the engineering system science approach to understanding everything. So thank you very much for that lovely comment. I'll use that occasion to make sure we keep pounding away. We want to hit 50,000 people because I want to build a movement, okay? And I hope you do also. So there are three things. So what I want to now talk about is that that's the bioinformatics piece. Let's look at how chondroitin sulfate affects computationally. So ROS, if you remember here, ROS is the molecule that is a measure of oxidative stress. So what we've done now is we've literally mathematically modeled all those molecular pathways with CytoSolve. And what do we see here? As you increase chondroitin sulfate, and by the way, we're not killing animals. No animals were killed in this study. We're using CytoSolve, which eliminates animal testing. You see more and more and more of ROS is decreased. So under control conditions, the ROS levels are 160 nanomolar, and ROS levels are reduced with the increase. And this is what you want. So look at, you go from 160, you almost get a 20% reduction with 200 milligrams of chondroitin sulfate. And we're proving that right here with CytoSolve. So this appears, we're backing up the research that chondroitin sulfate is good for relieving oxidative stress. But what we found out in our research is going to be a little bit different. And what the literature said was, no matter how much of chondroitin sulfate we get, it didn't have that much effect on cartilage degradation. So we went from 50, 100, 200 milligrams, okay, over 2 days under control conditions. We could experiment with more, but you notice that it doesn't have any effect, as we could see, on reducing cartilage. The literature said otherwise, okay? But when it came to cartilage regeneration, we found out that even if you give about 50 milligrams of chondroitin sulfate, you get a big boost from 1,500 to nearly, wow, this is almost a 15 to 15% boost right up here. Okay, so chondroitin sulfate under controlled conditions, we saw it helping to regenerate cartilage, and but beyond a 100 milligram dose, we didn't see any significant help. So this is why more doesn't mean better, right? So the body can only absorb a certain amount. So if you're going to go spend a lot of money on these supplements, you have to really rethink it. That's what's power of CytoSolve. CytoSolve is getting to figure out, because right now there's a lot of snake oil in the supplements industry. People say it does this, and you ask them, how did you come up with your formulations? They sort of make stuff up. In some ways, the supplements industry is heading towards as getting bad as a pharmaceutical industry. But with CytoSolve, we can separate truth from lies. So what we found here, even though the literature said, as we showed here, that chondroitin could be great for cartilage degradation, we found out that's not true. So in summary, our research concludes chondroitin sulfate is really good at lowering oxidative stress, and it's good, even at low dosages, for increasing. Someone says supplements are dead. You have to consume the whole bottle to get 10% of what you need. Yes, you're right. That's why ultimately food is medicine. All right. But you notice here, it really helps improve collagen 2 production. All right. So if you look at this sort of heat map, when you look at all the pathways, inflammation, oxidative stress, cartilage degradation, and cartilage regeneration, chondroitin sulfate, you get a green over here, a little bit of green if you can see the oxidative stress, but it's good for really these two aspects. All right. Now, one of the things I want to emphasize here is, so if you're looking for a joint supplement, it's not just about inflammation. It's not just about oxidative stress. It's not just about reducing cartilage degradation or increasing cartilage regeneration. You need something that does all of it. This is why food is so powerful, because food has a synergistic effect. It doesn't just hit one molecular pathway. So we've seen chondroitin hit, the literature said 3 pathways. We've shown it actually hits 2 pathways in an effective way. Food is like that. So, in the Indian system of food intake, you don't just take one thing, you take a lot of things. Curry powder, for example, is not just one ingredient, turmeric. It's that plus cumin and cloves. It's a whole bunch of ingredients that you mix together, and it's a medicine. It's anti-inflammatory, it's antifungal, antibacterial, so on. So that's why traditional systems of medicine over 10,000 years, every village has its own curry powder, because those particular nutrients are very, very valuable to health. So CytoSolve has the ability to actually determine that value. And so I'm very excited to share with you some very cool new research that relates to this, particularly in the inflammation world. So if you go here, synergy, as I teach in our course, is also a principle of systems. So for example, in the Indian tradition, these yogis, these holistic practitioners would mix a bunch of stuff together. So sometimes they may put some curcumin together, or they may put some the skin of red grapes. Well, with CytoSolve, but you ask them, how do you combine? How did you figure that out? They can't explain it to the Western mind. So the Western mind thinks this guy's just full of hocus pocus, right? But what we're able to do here is with CytoSolve, I can take the ingredient of curcumin, which is the active ingredient turmeric. I can map all the molecular pathways. All the red lines are showing me where curcumin interacts. Then I can look at resveratrol, map that. Then I can look at the synergy. And then mathematically on the computer, without killing animals, I can model, okay, the right column is how much cytokines are there. In this case, we have 0.15 units of cytokine, which means you have inflammation. So I'm simulating inflammation in this slide here. That's what I'm showing you here. So no curcumin, no resveratrol, high inflammation. Then I just give curcumin, 5 units, no resveratrol, the inflammation drops. That's what CytoSolve predicts, which is validated by clinical studies. Then we just put in resveratrol. That too drops from 0.15 to 0.06. But watch this. Watch what happens when I reduce the amount of curcumin from 5 to 3 by 40%, reduce the amount of resveratrol from 5 to 2 by 60%. It goes down even lower from 0.05, 0.06 to 0.03. Everyone watching this? This is called the synergistic effect. All right? This is why food is medicine. This is why you need to take a systems approach. It's not the Republicans or the Democrats that are going to do anything, okay? It's not just tweaking one little thing. We need to build a bottoms-up movement to affect many aspects of change. But it can only happen when we have a lot of things going on, decentralized. Thinking that Bernie's going to do something, or Trump is going to do something, or Biden's going to do something is complete nonsense. That's called centralization. The systems approach is against centralization of anything. The body is not a centralized system. We actually have 6 trillion cells in our body. We're not just one big cell. We have 60 trillion bacteria. We have 380 trillion viruses. We are a system of systems of systems. And this is why when it comes to political systems, you have to understand that we need truth, and we need freedom, and we need health, just like we need, all these different ingredients. You can't just have the right wingers fighting for 1A and 2A, or the left wingers doing earthy, crunchy granola stuff, just wanting health, or the nerds just wanting truth. You need all three because truth, freedom, and health are directly related. When you take the course, you'll find out to transport, conversion, and storage. So there is a fundamental principle. And so what I just shared with you with turmeric and resveratrol show you that it's about synergy. And when you take a synergistic approach, you get an explosive positive effect. So if I go back to that slide again, you'll see what happens when we apply synergy. If you just use curcumin, just use truth, you get so much effect. Just use resveratrol, freedom, something. But when you combine truth and freedom, I could have had a health thing here, but curcumin and resveratrol, you get a massive reduction, a 200% reduction, okay? Someone said, we have been taught what to learn, not how to learn it. You nailed it, Artesia. You nailed it, okay? So that's what we have. And I'm pleased to announce that, for nearly 16 years of CytoSolve, I've been helping the major brands in the world figure out if their products work or not. But over those 16 years, we have created a whole repository of amazing mathematical models. And we literally, recently, we went through a whole bunch of ingredients. We went through trillions of mathematical computations, and we found 2 amazing ingredients, 2 natural products. When you combine them together, they have a very powerful effect on inflammation, on pain, on discomfort. And this is the first product in 16 years that we put together, and we're bringing out to market. I think we're going to be sold out very fast. So the production cycle will be in about, I think, end of March. So we are launching it on our shop site. You can go pre-order. But let me just tell you, it takes CytoSolve, and it is a scientific systems approach to discovery. It's not just saying believe some new age guy. It's not saying believe pharmaceutical companies which just use a single drug. This is 2 natural ingredients. When combined, has an amazing effect on 5 molecular pathways, and it's called MV25. And I'll share this with you. And if you look at the label, which we just created, it's got our branding on it, because so people know it's coming not from some schlock area. It's a scientist, systems biologist. We're calling it MV because M times V, if you take physics, means momentum. That's momentum. So MV25, momentum to move. And it's a dietary supplement. We have a patent pending on it. But what you notice here is the way that we've created it, it says MV25 was formulated using CytoSolve, a computational systems biology engine, a platform, a technology for precision personalized health invented by Dr. Shiva during his doctoral research at MIT. This formulation results from integrating, this is a key point, thousands of peer-reviewed scientific papers. So we're not cherry picking, right? A lot of these guys like to cherry pick what they want. We went through every paper written in the area across 4 decades in 68 research institutions. And then we did nearly, we computed trillions of potential combinations and biomolecular interactions to discover an optimal synergistic compounds that downregulate biomarkers of discomfort and normal swelling. So CytoSolve optimized means that this formula has been optimized to maximize benefits and bioavailability while minimizing toxicity. And the promise that we want to do is that we know the science is going to change. As the science advances, so will this formulation. So that means we're not like saying this is the only formula. As new science comes, we're going to be continually evolving that formula, but we're not going to cherry pick. We're not just going to take one paper. So people are writing, where do you get MV25? Well, by the way, before I go, that this is made in the United States, it's certified clean, and it supports the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement. So let me show you where those of you want to go get it. If you go, let me just stop here. So if you want to go and get it, if you go to, let me share the screen here. So if you go to vashiva.com, okay, vashiva.com, and you, by the way, I think those people who join as warriors, there's some discount we offer people because we want to support our community. So, but if you go to vashiva.com and then you click on shop, right on shop, pre-order just recently opened, but you can go right here and you can add it to your cart, okay? It's right here. And proceeds of this go to support our whole movements, right? So this is really cool for me because it's an opportunity for me to use our scientific platform to build something that we know is very powerful, coming from a systems approach to help you so you can help our systems movement, okay? Our movement for truth, freedom, and health. So I hope you take advantage of this. And I'm very excited about it because it's our first product that we're doing. All right, so let me go back and we'll wrap things up, take some questions. So let's go back here. So that is MV25. Again, MV25 is coming out. You can pre-order on vashiva.com, but it's a synergistic blend. Now, chondroitin sulfate, what's the right dosaging, okay? Now, the dosaging, look, this is not a medical show. You should go talk to your doctor. This is really a science analysis using a systems approach. But according to Sukik in 2020, this just came out, a maintenance dose, you know, if you have stuff going on with oxidative stress or with wanting to cartilage degeneration, about 400 milligrams. For pain, Florentin et al. In their 2019 paper said about 400 milligrams. So we went and got the latest research. And for osteoarthritis, 1,200 milligrams per day, okay? There you go, and you can look back at this video. So in summary, the bioinformatics analysis shows that chondroitin sulfates, if you just look at the literature, you know, it says it's good for oxidative stress, cartilage degradation, cartilage regeneration, and it has also been clinically proven to improve joint health, eye health, and gastritis. But our computational analysis, we're a little more conservative. Our effort shows that it's good for oxidative stress as well as cartilage regeneration, not all three. And then chondroitin sulfate is not as effective as improving cartilage degradation. So there you go. You just learned everything you needed to know about chondroitin sulfate. You've learned a systems approach. But more importantly, if you notice in this talk, I've been pounding away at this very important issue that there's an integration between understanding the systems, the foundations of systems, the same science that you can understand why, you know, molecules in their body interact together, have a synergistic principle. Those principles are the same principles you can use to understand why we need to take a systems approach to politics, why we need truth, freedom, and health in synergy, why we need to build a bottoms-up movement, and more importantly, why, as a course will teach you, why we need to be very, very concerned with the not so obvious establishment, because they always want us fighting against each other, left and right and left, Trump and Bernie, Trumpers and non-Trumpers, Republicans and Democrats. They do not want us to build a bottoms-up movement. Our goal is, I'll continue to do these public service science talks and analysis, but my goal is that you support this movement. You can contribute to the platform, whatever you want. You can take advantage by committing to a course, and when you do that, I give you lots of information. And then those people become truth, freedom, and health warriors. My goal is for all of you to not only learn this knowledge, but join a community that's independent of big tech. And we're putting this in our own data center. Then I want you to get activated. When you go onto the site, you can get flyers and cards that you can go get activated in your local community. So we're going to be running the biggest clean elections campaign, a bottoms-up campaign, a decentralized campaign. Keep an eye out for this, that we're going to teach you what you can do in your local communities. So I want to teach you how to take care of your health from a systems approach. I want us to regain our democracy, because right now in these electronic voting machines, we do not have democracy. We don't have one person, one vote. And both left and right have been cheating us on this, both of them. We need to build a bottoms-up movement, because working people like you and I are the ones who've been getting screwed for the last 40 years, since 1971. Both left and right are squeezing us. So our health is getting destroyed, truth is getting lost, and obviously freedom is being violated. So truth, freedom, and health is the only movement on the planet. It's not going to happen from a third party. It's going to happen from you, number one, getting educated. Otherwise, you're going to be enslaved. Number two, getting activated. Number three, building community. So everything I do here, you know, while I teach the science, you notice I'm always continually pounding away why you need to take a systems approach. And there's a reason for that. Okay, let's see if we have any questions here. Glucosamine. Yes, so what we just went over, glucosamine chondroitin. That's what we just went over, okay? I can order the MV stuff off of his website. Exactly. Yeah, you know, this is the first run we're doing, so it's going to go very, very fast. So we have a video coming out. We have some amazing testimonials in the beta trial we did, just people raving about, you know, the effects that it had. Yes, so if you go to vashiva.com, you have my blog there. People are asking, where do we go to the medical community? What does MV25 actually do? Yeah, so I'll do a whole talk about it if you want. MV25 affects the pain inflammation pathways. It affects inflammation. It affects oxygen. It affects 5 pathways. And both of these are coming from 2 natural ingredients in the right combination. So, by the way, you can't just discover this overnight by hand waving. We ran through trillions of molecular reactions, all different combinations to discover this. Okay. What is ROS? Someone's asking. ROS is reactive oxygen species. Reactive oxygen species. Those are the species during, you know, when chemical reactions occur, your body gives off waste products. Okay, they're called reactive oxygen species. They're the things that oxidize your body, like rust. Okay, they eat away at your body. So when you take an antioxidant, it stops that rusting. Okay. Someone says, what is in the COVID? Well, there's many things. I did a talk on this. I'll come back to that. AKA free radicals. Thank you, AL3X King. MV20 safe for someone with stage 5 kidney failure. You should definitely consult your doctor, right? I'm not here to give medical advice, but from everything we know, it's very, very safe. But you should talk to your medical doctor. Okay. All right, everyone. I want to see a lot of people becoming Truth, Freedom, and Health warriors. Our goal is, and I'll let me just go to the website here so you guys understand where you can go to do that also. So if you go to, if everyone goes to vashiva.com, let me show you a couple of things before we sign off. If you go to vashiva.com/join, that's really the main website I want to drive everyone to. You know, we don't have a lot of slick marketing here, so it's everything I do is, you know, done, as you see, by ourselves here. It's Oregon. But if you go to vashiva.com/join, this is a website, and I'll play this video as I end, but you can support the platform. We're literally building our own hardware. We have our own data center, so it's not hosted by anyone else, by Amazon. You can join the community. You can commit to becoming a warrior. When you contribute $100, that means you're committed to being a warrior. You get all of these tools. Let me just show you what you get. And more importantly, you get to become part of a community. Go to vashiva.com/warrior or vashiva.com/join. And the warrior tool set gives you the MIT style education here. You get access to a whole bunch of online videos. You get access to the portal. You get access to the tool, Your Body, Your System. You get access to 4 books. You get access to the science tool. You get access to 2 scientific reports. But that's just the first beginning of it. You also get access to, when you log in, you can literally log in. And when you log in, you get access to, where's that login? Okay. When you log in using your username and password, which is unique to each person, you also get access to all of these other tools, which I've shared with you before, videos and cards that you can, flyers that you can print out to educate people on masks and immunity, forums. Like here's a live forum here. People are communicating on this live forum where you can actually see, oops, let me go back here. I think some of you cannot see this. Sorry about this. This always does this when, there. Okay, if you go to the live forum here, you can see that there's lots and lots of communication going on. This is independent of big tech, independent of YouTube, independent of Facebook, independent of any of those big tech platforms. You can see all of this. Look at this, 121 conversations taking place here. And this is just within a few weeks of this being launched. So this is in a safe environment where you can talk to other people, you can communicate, you can build your own pages. So anyway, go to vashiva.com/join, go to vashiva.com/warrior. Remember, we want to create people who are smart, who are politically conscious, but you're not going to get there without a systems approach. without the science of systems. And you're not going to learn it anywhere else because no one's put it together. So this is a 50-year commitment. So become a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior. I do these science videos, guys. It takes me almost, 2 days of preparation. And then we spend another probably, 10 weeks getting all that information together. We want you to support our research. We want you to support this because it's not going to come out of MIT and Harvard because those people cherry pick research. At Truth, Freedom, and Health, this movement, we have our own scientific research institution here. We have our own legal infrastructure. We have our own media infrastructure. And this is all for us because it's got to be bottoms up. And that's really the gift that we're doing. In many ways, it's not a gift that I'm giving to you. It was because of the gift that was given to me by my grandparents, by all the working class people. I grew up in New Jersey, by all of you. Without this country, I would have never been able to get all those degrees. I came from India as a low caste untouchable. My parents were very fortunate to come here. So to me, truth, freedom, and health are the centerpiece of existence, and they're directly related to a systems approach to life. So please join me, become a truth, freedom, and health warrior so we can win together. And we have to go bottoms up. Forget the political parties. Forget all these nonsense. You're just wasting your time, and it's just entertainment. Don't get involved in the royals. Don't get involved in Hollywood. Don't get involved in any of these clowns. They just want to distract you, okay? We're not going to get anywhere. It's going to be, Trump and Bernie, Trump fighting the RNC. He's raking in a lot of money. I'm telling you right now. Jared Kushner made a ton of money, okay? They're buying their nice condo, Ivanka and Jared, next to Tom Brady. You're not. A lot of American businesses got hurt. Forget the billionaires. Forget Hollywood. Let's build our own movement for truth, freedom, and health. We have the science, we have the community, and we have the direction. So it's basically up to you to join this movement. So let me finish up as I usually do, playing our great video. I love this video. It pretty much says it all. Share it with your friends. Go to vashiva.com/join and join the movement. It's time we win. And we're not going to win doing it their way. We're going to win it our way, which is science, a bottoms-up movement. It's the only way. So let me finish up with the video. Enjoy, everyone. Have a good night. I'll be back later this evening talking about the gentleman who recently just passed away. He's a great hero of mine. He actually stood up as an engineer when people said he should shut up. We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that, and that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution, and that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training, because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, right? Talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work united. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people. They have to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is a not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow, some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done. And it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum. People can go to bashiva.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people 2 years of MIT control systems. I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it. Anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. And the Senate campaign's expanded to the movement for truth, freedom, and health, and they can find it on V as in Victor, A, Shiva, bashiva.com, so people can sign in. They can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a truth, freedom, health leader, I offer a full scholarship there. But we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to VA Shiva, Victory America Shiva, VAShiva.com. All right, everyone. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. I have to go to our Warrior Huddle. By the way, we have thousands of warriors we put through the training just in the last 3 months. And every Thursday nights, we get together and we plan activities across the country. So you'll be hearing more about it. But one of the big things we're going to be doing is on clean elections and what you can do. But I need you to become a truth, freedom, and health warrior or support the movement in whatever way you want by contributing whatever you want, signing up as a member. But we want to have about 50,000 people worldwide. So become one. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.